Our next speaker represents a large portion of what's the identity of to be a San Diegan. Almost, maybe let's say the top 3 of ballpark, craft beer, and you named it, the Navy. I would like to invite Rear Admiral Mark Rich to the stage to share with us some of the Navy's sustainability strategies. Mark Rich is the commander of the Navy Southwest Region, or Navy Region Southwest. He has a host of decorations, including Legion of Merit and various campaign and service awards. He was a 2004-2005 Secretary of Defense Corporate Fellow with Honeywell International. And with that, Rear Admiral Mark Rich.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about a little bit about the Navy and your Navy, as well as more specifically your Navy in the Southwest. And we like to say that the San Diego here is where the Pacific Fleet begins, and Navy Region Southwest is what we do in San Diego is we manage the Navy's shore installations in the entire Southwest of the United States. And I'll show you a different picture that depicts the entire region. Now, just a little bit of overall situational awareness. You know, we've got several major commands here in the San Diego area, including Commander 3rd Fleet, Commander Naval Surface Forces, Commander Naval Air Forces, and the Commander of the Naval Special Warfare are all resident here in San Diego, as well as SPAWAR and some others. They are tenants on my base. We call them my bases. We call them mission partners, but they don't work for me. In fact, you know, we consider ourselves in the customer service business, and our mission is to support our mission partners so that they can be successful. My boss is Commander of Navy Installations Command, a 3-star flag officer in Washington, D.C., who manages all of the Navy shore installations worldwide, which is about 70 bases organized into 11 different regions, one of which is Navy Region Southwest. So this is a quick snapshot of the region. 10 installations. You can read a lot of the numbers there. I can tell you there is one typo here, that the amount of real estate that we own is actually 1.8 million acres. Now, I think that's particularly noteworthy when you consider that the entire Navy worldwide owns about 2.3 million acres. You know, so from a land perspective, we own obviously a significant amount of the Navy's real estate. Here's the 10 bases that we have, 9 of which are in California, 1 of which is in Nevada. We went through a consolidation about 10 years ago where we lost, we gathered a bunch of what used to be individual bases under single installations. For example, Naval Base Coronado was 6 separate flagpoles 10 years ago, is now consolidated into a single one. So, you know, some of the things we do, you can see on the right there. Manage, you know, more than 10,000 buildings and structures of one sort or another. 19 runways, 42 piers or wharves, and about 10,000 employees, and all of the mission partners that reside on those installations. So that's where we are. Now I want to focus a little bit about what we do. And the way I like to look at these, the first two, readiness and rebalance, are really jobs 1 and 2 for us, or 1 and 1A. Mission first is what we're all about. So as I mentioned earlier, you know, we have our mission partners that reside on our installations. Our reason for being, the reason that the shore establishment is organized the way we are, is because we do things, and I'll show you some of the lines of business that we have. We do the things to facilitate making our mission partners successful. And because we focus on those, they don't have to, and they can focus on their operational training and conduct of their mission and be successful there. So the job one is to enable the mission success of our partners. And job 1A, I'll say, is sort of a temporal focus right now, and that's to support the rebalance to the Pacific. Whereby we've transitioned to we're in the middle of a transition to about a nominal 60-40 split between the naval forces, however you measure those, being in the Pacific region. A large portion of that is here in San Diego, and 40% outside of the Pacific region. And that's a transition from what about 8 years ago was basically a 50-50 split. And we're probably about 75 to 80% of the way along that journey, and we'll talk a little bit about that more later. But really, that's a shorter term on the orders of 10 years task, whereas the first one is an enduring task. And the second piece is the second job that is very important to us is more in line with what this event here is about, and that's I'll call it. Ensuring the long-term viability of our installations, which obviously could be relabeled as sustainability. And I'll talk a lot about that more as we go along. So the bottom two, the relationships and resources, is how I think about the how of how we achieve the readiness and the rebalance. So the relationships. Being able to establish partnerships with anyone who is a stakeholder outside of our installations is critically important to us. Encroachment, I would tell you, is the #1 threat to our missions, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And so, we want to focus with our partners on compatible development rather than development that risks the mission of the installation. And we want to focus our operations to make sure that we're cognizant of the impact we have on our partners and the communities around our installations. And the last piece, the resources, obviously is right in line with what the conference here today is about. And I'll talk a lot more about what we're doing to manage those critical resources. So here in this region, we have today about 2/3 of the Navy's strike aircraft between a couple of large naval air stations, as well as 1/3 of the Navy ships here. 60% of the nation's training ranges are here locally in the Southwest. So what that means is those forces really have a direct access to the most high-quality training range anywhere in the world. So they are able to make use of that to be fully functional and fully ready. Those forces can come together in a large force exercise between land and sea and air forces, work together to train in an environment that is as complex or more complex than anything they're going to see when they deploy overseas. There's a great synergy here in the region. Both in terms of the location of the co-location of the forces or the nearby location of the forces between the Marines at Camp Pendleton, as well as the Navy assets here in Ventura County and in the Central Valley as well, that make a great opportunity for training. We also have technology, a great synergy in the technology between commands like SPAWAR that are leaders in weapons development, leaders in cyber security, along with some of the great industry partners and research institutions all here locally. So there's a great synergy here in the San Diego area from many aspects that make this the ideal home for that Pacific Fleet and the stepping off point. Now I want to shift the discussion just a little bit here and talk about how we support readiness. And these you can read in the four quadrants of this slide the the four functional areas we can organize the things that we deliver as a Navy shore, and I'll let you look at those. But in short, the quality of life, all the family and family support and sailor support services. I told you we have about 11,000 buildings, so we put a lot of effort and a lot of money into managing those things. We also have port and airfield security operations, public safety and emergency management, the operational services that we deliver, and these all support our mission tenets. And the enablers is our back office function. Now, going back to when Commander Naval Installations Command was stood up in 2003, as recently before that as 1997, we had about 18 major claimants that managed the Navy's 70 shore installations all over the world. And as you can imagine, they managed them in completely disparate ways with different types of services, different costs of services at any of those installations, even if they were sometimes across town from each other. When the Navy decided to go to a single claimant for all the shore, they took what's called a budget-based transfer, moved money out of all those 18 major claimants and established a new CNIC as a major claimant for all the shores. And they reduced the Navy's shore budget by $11 billion in one swoop, just in that one single action. Since then, the CNIC's total obligated authority from year to year to run those 70 installations has been, plus or minus a few, plus or minus relatively small numbers, has been about $4 billion since about 2006. Now, the reason I put the two categories up here like I did, there's two on the right here and two on the left. I'll call the two on the right the service that we deliver. And the two on the left is more about the cost of services. So I told you we're in the customer service business, and the two categories on the right are really where the customers that we serve. In that 9 years since we started looking at, I said the TOA is our total resources have been about $4 billion plus or minus from year to year. I can tell you that the good news to that story is that the value of the services that we've delivered has actually increased over that time about 25%, and the two blocks on the left has actually decreased that corresponding 25% since the total authority has been largely consistent. So I think that's a great news story about the quality of running your operations under a single entity. Now, just a little bit more about the specifics of the rebalance to the Pacific. Really growing in every category that you can see here, from ships to aircraft, one submarine, excuse me, and one of the key growth areas that I'd like to talk a little bit about is the Naval Special Warfare Coastal Campus down there at the bottom right. Excuse me. Over the course of about the last 10 years, Naval Special Warfare Forces have increased significantly towards the conduct of the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Those the resources and the facilities that they've operated out of haven't increased significantly. So there's a plan to build out the facilities down in the Silver Strand to the tune of about $700 million to relieve some of the congestion at the Naval Amphibious Base. And what we'll do is we'll move the operational Naval Special Warfare Forces, the SEAL teams, down to that facility, those new facilities over the course of about the next 10 years. and we'll rebuild the Naval Amphibious Base to some extent to better accommodate the Naval Special Warfare Command, the schoolhouse, and the training for the new SEAL students. 24 ships is about the growth that we're going to see at Naval Base San Diego over the course of the next 10 years, and that'll count for that's largely in terms of new LCS, a handful of expeditionary ships, as well as the Zumwalt class destroyers will be coming there over the next few years. And the challenge really is is not just the numbers. Not just the numbers, but those new ships have new and different capabilities and different support requirements, and that's similar to the Joint Strike Fighter, which is coming to Lemoore. It's not just to pick them up and put them in the same location as our previous generation. Those new forces come with a different operating construct and a new maintenance construct, and so we have to have the right kind of facilities as well. And the challenge with all this, in terms of accepting the significant increase in numbers in some cases and capabilities in some cases, is that when you move an aircraft squadron to Lemoore from Oceana, or ships from Norfolk to San Diego, they don't roll up a pier or a hangar and bring it with them. You have to manage that. And with the fiscal environment that we're in today, the challenge really is getting everything you need done to accept those new forces when they're ready to be here. And that includes the construction of a new facility, which of course requires your NEPA effort to make sure that your environmental planning is accomplished in time to support the construction. So, okay, this is a, I got one. Okay, thanks. Yeah, thank you. Kind of a busy slide here, but but there's a point. I mentioned that our job one is to support the mission success of our operational tenants and our mission partners, and I also mentioned that I think that the biggest risk to that mission is encroachment. This is one slide that lays out the magnitude of, one, our encroachment challenge, but two, our relationship challenge. We have an organization called a CPLO, or a Community Plans and Liaison Office, and that is basically one civilian at each of our installations, as well as one that works for my staff, and they maintain relationships basically all over the Southwest region. Because what we have here, that's kind of an eye chart, but of course the purple is offshore operating areas. The gold or darker yellow is military training routes, and the green is special use airspace, and the blue is just operational areas of concern. And what this chart is really about is about anticipating activities, particularly alternative energy development or construction projects of one variety or another, that have the potential to impact the mission that happens in all of these locations. And the gold in particular indicate low-level training routes where military aircraft operate sometimes at low altitude. Now, we have to maintain relationships with localities, state, and utilities, and as well as federal agencies to understand and to be able to anticipate when projects are initiated or planned, essentially in the entire region, so that we can work with them before monies are invested, before things get too far, to ensure that the project is designed compatibly so that it won't impact our operations, our ability to operate. So that's a pretty daunting number for those 10 or 11 people that work for me. They maintain a relationship with upwards of 200 agencies of one variety or another. So their goal is to create a network of networks so that they will always be in front of the next project. So they'll get developers knowing that they have to call the Navy or one of the other agencies before they can start working on their project, and that we'll help them design it such that we won't have objection to it. And that's really been a good news story, because this is a process that's been established for about 6 or 7 years now, and every year we increase the number of projects we coordinate on, before there's shovels in the dirt and things like that. But it used to be, we would have to come in time late, and after monies are already committed and lands purchased and things like that, and it just makes it hard for everybody. Okay, moving on to resources. If encroachment is our number one threat, I would say that mismanagement or the lack of good stewardship of our resources is probably the number 2 threat. Now, what you're looking at here is back in 2006, we started the journey where we had the goal to decrease our energy utilization or energy consumption 3% per year, based on a 2003 timeline. So where we were in 2003, beginning at 2006, we were going to reduce our energy 3% per year out to 2016. Now, this is measured in millions of BTUs per 1,000 square feet. And what is captured here on the red is the actual energy consumption that we've achieved. So as you can see, we haven't made our goal yet. But there's actually a good news story that is about to be told. We have worked very hard at a lot of the low-hanging fruit, and had for a long time, because if you looked further back here to the left, we had already been working on energy conservation and captured a lot of savings for that. But we have the biggest driver here, apart from the fact that all along this timeline, we've been growing and bringing new things online. So our conservation efforts really have been effective at not having our energy consumption grow, but they haven't made a significant headway until very recently into that because of the addition of new forces and new things like and that. The other big piece of that, and it's a very big piece of that, is we used to have all of our ships needed service steam, both at Coronado and particularly at San Diego. And we also use service steam as a heating source for many of our buildings, and also in some of the industrial facilities. We have a contract. We're about to start work on a $36 million contract to replace our service steam at Naval Base San Diego, and we're working on a proposal for to let a contract to replace the steam system at Coronado, which will be even larger than that. So both of those will be completed by about 2018. And when we get rid of that steam finally, which right now is doing very little, because of most of our steam using ships have gone, so a lot of that steam is just being wasted. So we expect that when we get those two efforts executed at Coronado and Naval Base San Diego, that we'll actually be below the line fairly quickly there. Along the same lines, some of the other efforts we're doing is we've got about 22 million watts of PV installed and operating across the region. We just signed a power purchase agreement in partnership with WAPA as well as Sempra for another 150 megawatts of DC PV power that's going to be generated in Arizona. So we're working all aspects of that problem. And water, I think this is a better news story already, and we've been working very hard at water conservation for years before the acknowledgement of the drought last year. We have the area between the curves here over the course of from 2008 to 2014 represents about 1 billion gallons saved and reduced. We're on track. The governor's goal last year was to reduce another 25%, represents about another 900 million. You know, we have achieved the savings that we achieved largely through irrigation and landscaping reductions, xeriscaping aggressively across the region. But we've reduced, again, in the year since then, another 19%, and we think we have a clear path to that 25% reduction. You know, really, our water saving efforts have 5 general points of focus. First and foremost is to drive a culture of conservation across the Navy, our installations. And I think with in being where we are and where we've come, the journey that we've come through with the energy conservation efforts, I think that's largely, was accomplished as soon as we acknowledged the drought, and our saving and our water reductions show that. The second piece is projects, and we let about $5 million worth of projects just at the end of this past fiscal year to get at additional savings. But for larger scale projects, the biggest challenge is that water, as compared to energy, often water projects don't necessarily pencil out just because, despite the fact that we're in a drought, the rates are relatively low relative to the construction cost of significant water projects. So, sometimes you just have to do what's right, and that's the approach we're taking with the water. I talked about irrigation and landscape. That was probably the largest. That's the predominant source of our savings from the initial efforts that you see here, and we still have some opportunity there that we're continuing to pursue. What we'd like to do in company with that, we have aggressively metered all of our electric facilities for electricity. We haven't done the same nearly as well and aggressively with water. So we need to get the water out there so we can make use of the same data analysis tools that facilitate great conservation efforts from an energy perspective. So my last slide, and this much of this I've already talked about, but we're running at about a 70% diversion rate on our job projects. So in the top left corner there, so we run aggressive recycling programs as well as sustainable furniture initiatives. Our buildings are always targeted at LEED Silver or better. And I talked about the low impact and xeriscaping efforts across the region. We have a plan to here at the bottom, in the next year or so, we're going to bring on roughly 500 electric vehicles online and replace traditional gas or hybrid vehicles across the region, between the Navy and the Marine Corps, across California, I should say. And the punch line for for the night lizard slide here is, I think if you're an endangered species, it's a good thing to be on Navy land. We manage 47 separate endangered species across our properties, and I think we do a great job. We have 15 listed species here in San Diego alone, and we've actually been successful in delisting the San Clemente Island night lizard, which you see pictured there. So we've also been recognized for this, and again, this is the organization, obviously not me, that has an award-winning record, including San Diego's Recycler of the Year, I believe, for 9 years running, as of 2014. So in going forward, as I talked about, our goals are to continue to foster those positive relationships so that we can maintain compatible development and maintain the awareness in our surrounding communities and the importance of compatible development. We're fully supportive of the Navy's goals towards energy independence, and we're looking forward to helping the state of California reach their water goals as well. And that is all I have, unless do we want to take questions or offer questions? Okay, that works for me. Yeah, I would tell you that most of your tough questions, I think I would point it to the guy in the white shirt over there that you're going to hear on your panel, and direct them at him. So it's just as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rear Admiral. I appreciate that. And this is a great segue into the next portion of our agenda today, the panel. As Rear Admiral Rich mentioned, that there's a lot of low-hanging fruit projects, and there's not very many people who would stand before a room full of sustainability experts themselves and show energy and water graphs. So that takes a lot of courage, and to say, here's where we missed the mark, here where we've been really successful, and kind of compare that, that's truly amazing. So thank you so much for sharing your inside details with us.